Saif, thank you very much for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
You are the co-founder of Sehteq, which is a digital insurance, healthcare insurance startup based in Dubai. Prior to this, you were the CEO for Middle East and Africa at UnitedHealth Group, which is obviously a Fortune 500 company, and specifically, I checked this morning, number 6. So it's one of the largest health insurance companies in the world. And before that, you were with Aetna, Daman, and Green Crescent, AXA Gulf. You're a proper doctor, so I should have introduced you as Dr. Saif Al Jabeiji. So 2 years ago, you started Sehteq, and this is a insurtech startup. Would you call it an insurtech startup?
I would, yes.
Yeah. And so can you tell me about your journey? How did you get around to starting it, and what was the vision behind Sehteq?
The idea was born in an incubator, in a startup incubator. So I'll take you a step back. My friend and co-founder Hisham Safadi and I wanted to start an entrepreneurship hub where it's a combination of, I'd say, commercial, like any other incubator or accelerator, but also with government support. So we partner with the Department of Economic Development in Ras Al Khaimah, and we launched RAC, Ras Al Khaimah Incubator and Accelerator. And that was in June 2017.
So you launched your own incubator for other startups?
Absolutely. So that's how it started. I spent some time in Silicon Valley, and I liked how all of those incubators work, and the spirit, and the entrepreneurs, and how they help each other. So we wanted to do something similar, but has a commercial agenda. So the companies that we would incubate, it's more, I'd say, realistically will make some money. So you support them, but will not look at an exit. It's more like businesses. In that journey, since we launched, as I told you, like 2-3 months down that line, with all the talks about mandatory health insurance, expanding to include Northern Emirates, which is mandatory in Dubai and Abu Dhabi a few years ago, the idea of creating a digital health insurance company in Ras Al Khaimah to prepare for the mandatory health insurance was born. And then what we've done, as you rightly said, I've been in insurance all of my life. It's something I'm passionate about. And I have a lot of friends who work with me in insurance and continue to work with me. What I get out of the experience with the incubator is a lot of IT experts, or I'd say innovators, who brought nice ideas. They have a good track in development and marketing and etc. So simply, I'd say combine both and you get Sehteq.
Specifically, Sehteq is incorporated as a TPA or an insurance company?
That's a very good question. So it was first launched out of the incubator as more or less, I'd say, an insurtech or an IT company. And that was in November. In Feb, where we started the real operation, that's Feb 2018, is after looking at, are we a broker, are we an insurance company, are we a TPA? And then, as it's very difficult to sell health insurance, it's even more difficult to control the administration of what you sell. So it took us 2 to 3 months to figure out what we want to be, and eventually we decided that we are a TPA. What's, I'd say, a key factor is we are not a disruptor. So Sehteq as a company, it's digital, it's insurtech, but we work within the legacy system. We try to improve it every once and then by talking to, I'd say, the bigger players on the market, and making sure, even we talk to the regulator, making sure what we do is cool and nice and brings a lot of value and return of investment, but we don't breach any of the regulatory framework.
You have 500,000 members at the moment.
Yes.
On your platform?
Yes. I mean, I can't hide my smile.
That's a huge number.
It is. But when we started, and I can share with you, the first, I wouldn't say even board presentation, but in the first presentation we have a photoshopped piece of a newspaper that says Sehteq hits 1 million consumers in 2020.
Right.
So that's always on my office. And then what we've done, we worked back. So we want to have 1 million consumers in the UAE market. And then what do we need to do? So obviously you have to come up with good products, work on partnership, but acquisition came as a good idea. Out of the insured population, the health policies in this market, many of it is administered by TPAs. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the licensed TPAs, there is 2 or 3 that have the majority of the market, then a very small companies who competes on bits and pieces of the market. So the strategy was to acquire all of those companies, kind of like bring them together into a single platform and built on it.
I also read that 40% of your P&L goes towards tech resources.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at not only the investment, all the meetings that happen, whether at the shareholder level, at the executive team, is about how could we look at the technology and bring it to insurance. And that technology, let it be we all order food from Talabat or take a cab with Uber and Kareem, and this is what we look at. It's like we want to have the experience very similar. We don't look at insurtechs or the legacy system and try to fix it and let's say replicate it, but we literally look out of the market and bring the idea. And that happens with the balanced approach of very smart guys from out of the insurance, and the checks and balances that happens with the ones who have experience.
Staying on integration, operationally, how do you manage to, because to me, we're talking like apples and oranges. You're talking about buying the relatively smaller TPAs,
Yes.
That have pretty much, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much been competing on price, working with the smaller insurers. And you've kind of bought them out and you're plugging them into this state-of-the-art platform that you're building that is futuristic. So how does that work, and has that been successful, and how long is this really going to take?
So we try to challenge ourselves. We acquired the 3 companies in June, and I said we'll do like 100 days. So we have a group, a WhatsApp group that says 100 days plan, and in that group, that within the 100 days we will have to integrate all companies into a single platform. Both.
So we're talking about 100 days to integrate like 5 companies into one company using one bit of tech as its core.
Not only that, so it's from call center. So now if you dial any of the numbers, you'll get a centralized call center. As I told you, from a legacy regulation, you'll have to press 1 for that company, 2 for the other company. But you will get the same answer. So it's the same team sitting together. And then you talk now about the core systems we are using. So we started by bringing everyone together. It's a commodity at the end of the day. So you have health insurance, you expect service. So first, we've established what kind of service we want to give you, and then we drove this down and had all of those companies comply with that. What helped us a lot is we were ranked 9th globally as an insurtech.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and again, it's like we just shared that, guys, we are number 9 outside. And in the UAE, there was a recent study done that we ranked number 5 in terms of, so insurtech is different. So insurtech has completely different way of looking at what's your tech, what's your people, what do you do, how successful you are. But we are number 5 as a legacy insurance provider. So we competed with that with the big companies like NextCare, Nas Neuron, even insurance providers like Daman, Aetna.
I need to ask you about redundancies. Yes. Naturally, that's something that will happen when you're operating in a model like this. And of course, a lot of operators, when we meet, fellow insurance industry colleagues, everyone talks about them, there being too many players in the market. At every, too many brokers, too many insurers, too many TPAs. So, you're doing the dirty work in a way of cleaning things up and actually building a proper organization to service the TPA segment. But this would obviously also come at the cost of redundancies. So, how do you deal with that? Do you have is it happening a lot? And what's your approach to it?
Well, there is no formula how would that work. It all depends on how the market perceive it. But I wanted to share with you a joke. Now we've been labeled as cleaning the market. So the companies that are struggle, they will either call us or someone would recommend that they will call us.
TPAs are reaching out to you?
Yeah.
To get bought out?
Which I'm happy with it. It's what we established. But it doesn't mean that it's our mandate to buy struggling companies. No, we will do if it makes perfect sense. So back to redundancy. There isn't any of those acquisitions. Sometimes there are some unique points within the company. One of it could be the portable membership they have. So if they have clients that we can move into our platform. And then in most of the cases, I'd say when you look at the infrastructure, there is no much to reuse. You get the challenge a little bit around people, okay? Where I would say in terms of the acquisitions we've made and we will continue, this is a bigger challenge as you are getting a replica of what you already have.
Yeah.
So a claims manager, now we have 4 or 5. Approval or a call center agent, now we have plenty of them. I think partially what we're trying to do is to see if we can reuse people. So And obviously all of those management tricks that you find on LinkedIn or any book, you would do trials and errors. So we're trying to know the people, as insurance is not an industry you get out of school.
Yeah.
Some people were looking, they were selling something else. They came to the UAE, they worked in insurance, they liked it. We have a lot of people who came from banking. Yeah. So at the end of the day, whatever they are doing or they were doing, it doesn't mean that this is the only thing they can do. So it's a lengthy exercise, but we've been successful in looking at individuals who were doing something else, like call center agent, who eventually can be beyond call center and work on as an analyst, or vice versa.
Yeah, and find ways for whoever that can add value to the organization.
But this is the toughest thing, and I've seen it especially with we have, and we will continue to have succession plans. So there's always young entrepreneurs who will come work with me. Or with any of the CEOs of the companies, and I test them when it comes to that. It's like, you will have to make hard decisions. Sometimes it's good to let someone go. Mm-hmm. If he's struggling, and he was like, let's say, a manager in company A, now we are bigger, he's still stuck in that mindset. I tell people that works with me, my colleagues, like, it's easier to let him go back to a smaller company where he can continue to be the boss of the bosses in a small shop. But what helps and will continue to help is when you look at how other industries are working. So you mentioned we are all in insurance, right? But there are different components in insurance. A brokerage doesn't run like a public joint stock company, which were 150 million, or an insurtech or an app. So we try to look at those other lines of insurance and how they work, and then the lines that are similar. Fortunate or not, but now there is a lot of good resources in the market. They are available, they have experience, and then you have the wider markets where you can bring in resources.
To do what you're doing I'm sure it takes a lot of money and a lot of capital. Yeah. So what's your approach to that? I know you're VC funded. Is that correct?
Yes.
Presumably you'll have to kind of keep raising a lot of capital going forward, or is the plan slightly different?
No, it's slightly different. So that VC is a friendly VC. We don't have a VC startup kind of pressure to sell, or there's no talks about selling. The plan is right now is we're more or less, I'd say, we're cash positive, we're sustainable. So
you're cash positive already?
That was from the first couple of months, yes. Yeah.
Health tech startup or health insurtech startup, and you create a company at the end of 2017?
Yes.
And you become cash positive in a couple of months?
Yes.
But you still have 40% of your resources in tech?
More than that, maybe.
So is there some secret?
So whatever we built in tech, what's important to know, we don't build it for us. So we built it in a way that it's extremely expensive, it's really good, but I know other companies can use it. Mm-hmm. And this is not a myth.
Are there TPAs?
I wouldn't say TPAs per se. Yes, some TPAs or competitors would use part of our tech, but a lot of the ecosystem uses our technology. So that makes the investment in technology has an ROI by itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this would help us also expand to markets where I don't know. You and I were in Bahrain, and right after that conference, I was asked if I'm interested to come to Bahrain market, and we are not. But we will lease, let's say, or share our tech, our model with a company in Bahrain that will run with it, I wouldn't say as a franchise model, but to an extent, that's how we will expand. So back to that point, what we do is use technology to reduce and standardize the way we operate. Okay, so out of the 500,000, I'd say I have roughly maybe 50, 60 people running that. Much probably people would say this is not enough, including the team. They would say we need more. We need to scale the number of resources we have, because they do their calculation based on what they've seen in their previous work. So company A, they have 1 million, they have let's say 400, 500 people servicing that 1 million consumer. Company B have more than 1 million, they have 1,000. So you see the scalability in terms of people goes bizarre. You are a small company, you have 20, 30 guys working for you. Once you become big, you have hundreds of people, and then supervisors, managers, senior managers, etc. In our case, there's no secret sauce, but you look at technology and how it would sort that. And you look at the humans and decide what the technology cannot do, so I have to hire that guy to bridge the gap. So they have to be more expensive guys that can solve where technology struggle. This have helped us reduce the operational expenses, but also build a new revenue stream. Okay. Now you look at the growth and the revenue. Partially, it doesn't only come from acquisition, but when you acquire your competitors, you kind of like neutralize the market. So I no longer have to compete on a dirham or 2 dirham price. It will be, let's say, 2-3 players in the market, and you, Mr. Client, you have one of those 3.
Did you buy out companies that have liabilities that far exceed the assets?
Yes.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that they have to pay you?
Well, there's a couple of
out?
transactions, but it's a line of that. They will have to pay. If they want to have a decent exit, if they plan to stay in the market, they will have to do that.
Let's talk about distribution. Currently, I think a lot of the business that you're doing is broker-driven or sourced from brokers.
Yes.
How do you see the distribution strategy for Sehteq evolve over time? Do you have a direct-to-consumer or even direct-to-corporate approach, or do you see yourselves working with brokers going forward, and I know strategic partners as well?
Simply, when you look at this market, the way it's been working, more than 80-90% of your business will be driven by brokers. So there is no point of changing that. This is what I told you. We respect how the market works. So what we do so far, we are a B2B2C.
Yeah.
So I will empower you. All of our application could have your logo. So if you don't want your clients to see me, I'm okay with that, as long as I'm getting eventually the business.
Thank you very much, Saif, for
talking
to me today. This stuff sounds really exciting, and I'd like to congratulate you on achieving so much through Sehteq in such a small amount of time. And I'm looking forward to closely tracking your journey. And yeah, once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me in your show.